Boom, hello, and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. This is the #1 podcast in the executive protection game, and this is the largest free real-world library of executive protection content in existence. So sit back, relax, dig in, and enjoy the show. While we honor the slogan that executive protection is more than just a job, ladies and gentlemen, it really is a lifestyle. Boom.
Byron, how do you get into the bodyguard? And they always start off with that. I mean, should we even start off with the term?
I mean, we got to say something about it.
We have to say something because it's, even today, we got sent a training thing and the guy was like, you know, he's like, former police officer, SWAT officer, which I was like, aren't those the same thing? You know, and then he's like, celebrity bodyguard. I'm like, oh, jeez.
Okay.
And it's like, and I had to tell, I mean, this went out on blast to our whole team. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know if I support this person, but you know, you just kind of let them do what they do. And
yeah, man.
But what, like the term bodyguard, like a lot of people in some ways, sometimes it's the easiest way to explain what you do. You know,
well, it's you're using terms that the public understands.
Yeah.
Because that movie in the '80s with Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston.
Shut your mouth by the movie. The movie's amazing. I love that movie.
That movie is responsible for us having to wear suits way more often than we
everywhere.
should. I ruined it for everybody. God bless him. The movie was fantastic, but seriously, that movie has caused me more hate and discontent. Having to try to explain.
And you can never own a ninja sword ever, or a samurai sword ever.
Yeah.
Will it cut a scarf? No sword will cut a scarf, woman.
So there is. I mean, it depends on where you're from, the way you look at it, your understanding of it. I'm gonna give you what I got on it. You know what I'm saying? And if you guys have an opinion on this that you want us to like dial into and talk more about, hit me up and let me know. But this is the way I understand it from the dudes who raised me in the industry and the school of thought I come from. Okay, I am an executive protection agent. There is a stark difference between executive protection agents and bodyguards. Executive protection agents are professionals. They're thinkers. They don't rely on bodyguard tactics. A bodyguard is closer to, and you know, I'm sure that we're gonna go to war with the trolls over this.
Oh boy.
But my layman's understanding of it is, like, a bodyguard is closer to the public's understanding of it is like a step up from being a bouncer. Yeah, a lot of guys pride themselves on being a bodyguard, but the way I kind of have looked at it, and you know, the way that I kind of approach it is, I'm not a bodyguard. I'm an executive protection agent. My skills range far more than just protecting a body. I'm doing logistics. I'm paying attention to advances. I'm coordinating things with municipalities and other police departments and federal, you know, assets that we have. And I'm vetting people, and I'm even doing like profiling, and I'm doing all kinds of things. I'm an executive protection agent. I'm not just being, now the bodyguard, the close protection aspect is one compartment of what I do. So I use the term bodyguard whenever I'm explaining what I do to somebody who doesn't understand what I do, and they need a term to help them make an association so that they can, you know, kind of grasp part of what, you know, we're capable of and what we do. So to me, if you just call, obviously I'm not going to get offended because I'm not, you know, I'm a bigger man than that, but I'm just saying like a bodyguard is kind of like a layman's term for what we do.
Yeah.
There's executive protection agents and then there's bodyguards. And usually when I run into a bodyguard, he loves being called the bodyguard. He's like, I'm a bodyguard. And I'm yeah, you are, aren't you? And it's okay, you know. You gotta be who you are in this world, right?
I don't see anything wrong. Okay, well, kind of going off of what we talked about on the last episode, I learned so much from a guy who he straight up said to me, he's like, I'm the bodyguard. You're the agent. I was like, And this was a celebrity client, you know her, that I was with for a long time. This guy was with them 20 years, bro. 20 years with the same family. Okay, I don't care what you're doing. Whatever it is, right. You're doing it right.
Kicking it for 20 years.
And we were on a trip. We were in London for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he came with us.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd never worked with him.
Yeah.
He worked in another piece of property, another part of the country. And we started off in New York. And this was a celebrity client who had paparazzi issues. And especially at the time. Now, we ran things really good. Like, they weren't stupid. Like, they didn't want to be shot. So we were able to do a lot of things set in place where we just really never had a problem.
For all those people that have just got here.
Camera shot.
Yeah, cameras, paparazzi. We don't mean literally, but we also mean that.
And I picked up so many little things from him. Like he once I was like, oh, everybody's out back. What do we do? He's like, all right, check it out. You're not a. This was a large man. This was like
he was a bodyguard. Right?
This dude was like 6'4", 300 pounds,
moving people.
He was a people mover, man. Okay. He just was a wall. But he had that gray matter too, man. He was smart. You know, he understood his job. Man. And he comes to me, he's like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand outside there. I know how to talk to these guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. The car's going to pull up here. You know, the person's going to walk out the door. Just make room. You guys I'll step out of the way. You guys get your shots. He's out there setting this up. Meanwhile, I got the driver on the back, and I take her through the kitchen. We get in the car and we bail.
Boom. That's some good.
And I was like, he's like, this is what we're going to, and I'm like, what are we going to do? And he videoed the whole thing on his iPhone.
That's fantastic.
And I was just listening to what he said, how he handled them. He's like, all right, guys. Like, he played
the game.
He had been there, done that.
Game. Yeah.
And I picked up so many little, and I've used that trick, bro.
Man. That's ninja.
I have used that trick a few times now.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic, you know. So, but he like said it. He's like, I'm the bodyguard.
Yeah.
You're the agent.
Yeah.
And you know, you might be a bodyguard if you don't know what an advance is. You might be a bodyguard if you don't understand surveillance and counter surveillance.
Get him.
You might be a bodyguard if you do not, on a monthly at least basis, participate in some type of combative.
Okay.
You might be a EP agent if you're really, really good on a computer. You might be an EP agent
and you're doing your reports.
if you know how to book travel.
Yeah. Real talk.
Like, so there are differences. I don't think one's better than the other. And if you're smart and humble, like if I would have come in there and tried to play, big man in the room with that dude,
got owned.
I would have been owned. I would that situation. Now we're working together instead of against each other.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say, you know what I'd like to hear from? I would like to hear from a bodyguard that's listening. Hit me up, DM me, and I'd like to maybe talk with you and like really wrap my mind around the art of the bodyguard aspect of this game. Because I was raised in like, yo, you're an executive protection agent. These are all the things you're doing. I understand close protection, and I can do it good, very well. But man, I want to talk to some old head.
The bodyguards understand how to be with a client who wants to be seen.
That's
who
true.
Has to be in a situation,
play the crowd,
and they're really good at
people,
that.
And
they're
which we
people,
can do, but
that's
that's like a small percentage.
And they're more of a presence there, so that person feels protected, so that person
can do what they do,
looks protected, and isn't going to get rushed by people, isn't going to get approached inappropriately. Because I've seen paparazzis do some jacked up things,
trying to get content.
To stars, like big stars, like a girl with her kid going to get a juice, like a Jamba Juice type place, and just these two in her face and rude, and everyone was just like, oh man.
And it's significant to know how to work your paparazzi, man. That's a whole nother like podcast, right? Situational awareness is like where it's at. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's your next line of defense. And then having that intelligent situational awareness and like, taking up good real estate and knowing what to look for on people and knowing how to read people and paying attention to what their limbic system's doing. You know what I mean? Like, and that type of trash gives you an edge. And what's information do? It gives you more intellectual options. People get frustrated when they don't have they go to emotion when they don't have intellectual options, So in terms of the spectrum of tools that we can have as practitioners in the field, and the options and the things that can stop us before we get to vapor lock, and you know, you end up like one of these guys we're seeing on social media, like slugging it out with someone on the sidewalk. You know,
you're wrong.
We all make mistakes.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
You're always wrong, man.
You know, we all make mistakes, but you know, you're wrong. Yeah, exactly. Much love, bro. But you know, we can have some more options that can do that left of bang term. It's genius.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff, you know. So, I really respect that. I appreciate that.
Talk about left to bang. So for everybody who doesn't, you know, maybe not have heard of left to bang, it's a relatively new term, but that's one of the big tenets of some of the stuff I teach is being left to bang or walking around in a left to bang mindset. So you're not going to, you know, learn Jedi mind tricks when you get this training bike. We build a mindset with it. Yeah. So the content, the information. You know, if you were loading a gun, the bullet would be the information, okay? Yeah. The gun is the mindset. How do you properly utilize that? It's great to have this information. And left to bang is it just says that in an incident timeline, where if you have bang right there in the middle, bang is your bad incident. That's one thing you want to avoid. You're mugging, you're shooting, bombing, ambushing,
pie in the face,
squirted with water in the face. The one thing you want to avoid, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is. And you take that and you think about everything after the fact or right of bang, everything that happens after bang. And, you know, you're a bad guy, your criminal might be trying to egress out of the area. There's good guy actions that happen. You know, we might have to call an ambulance or secure the area, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of there's a lot of things happening after bang.
Yeah.
And we've trained for a long time to how to respond to those. And you need to do that. You know, you need to understand how to respond for your clientele and whatnot. And we've been doing that for a long time. Well, what about the other side of that coin? Are there pre-event indicators before a client catches a pie in the face? Are there pre-event indicators before someone pulls out a gun and active shooter? And I'm not just talking about like bulging on the side of the waist. I'm going even farther than that. Yeah. If my point is to get you left of bang, I want to get you so far left of bang, I want to get you like west of bang. You know? Before the gun comes into the scene, I want you to be able to observe behavior and go, of the crowd of people or a bunch of people around you, going, okay, of all these people, potentially this person's going to be my problem child. Now we've, instead of worried about threats everywhere, now we've focused our attention using the content going, okay, I'm going to focus on A, B, and C instead of trying to take in everything. So that left to bang mindset, always looking for those pre-event indicators. And if you can ever find those pre-event indicators, you pull on that thread long enough, what happens? You know, things start to unravel. And bang doesnn't happen. You know, as a young Marine, you know, we always want to get in a fight, man.
That's what we're looking for, man.
We're looking for a fight. We're going to get in a fight and finish that fight, you know.
Time.
Exactly, but, you know, until you get shot at once. Oh, that's horrible. I never want that to ever happen again. So that's why in my older years now I like to operate in that mindset. I look for anything that can disrupt it or have bang fall apart and done because that's sexy to me.
No, that's exactly. I'm right there with you. That's the most sexy when the client doesn't know even anything almost had ever happened. You know, and then you just have to fight the accountants and make sure they know why you're still there. You know, document it and prove it. But and that's essentially what we're all about. I mean, that's private security. You know, that's the deal. Are you a part of any programs now? Are you doing anything after you left that? You know, with the Marine Corps, now you got your company, Emergence.
Yes, Emergence. Yep.
And you guys are. I mean, what you're doing now is really bringing these products to the civilian market.
Yes. Yeah. I know my Instagram followers are going to be mad at me because I've been gone for a while now. I've been doing Black Ops all summer. So what I'm trying to do now is I've spent the last year kind of running and gunning, teaching classes, mostly here in California, but a couple other locations. And this whole year I've been getting a lot of hits. Like people are, I call it the zombie effect, man. People that come to the course and like they're frothing at them. They're like, I want more of it. Everyone has to have this, you know. Yeah. And that's great, and it really gets, you know, those people trained. But I got hit up so much throughout the year of people from the UK, people all from Europe and different countries in South America, and asking me for training. Like, hey, I want to do this, but you know, if you're not. If you don't have a company or somebody, an entity behind you, you know, flying someone out to do these courses are cost prohibitive, you know. So I'm trying to spend. I've been spending this part at the end of the summer is trying to make as many products and build some more products online, so you don't have to fly me out. I can be right there with you, smaller chunked, and maybe make it a little bit more specific. So if you are in the EP side, hey, go to this product. And what will hopefully that will lead to by the middle of this year, I'll be putting on actual live coaching.
Awesome.
So instead,
good.
Yeah, I'll get in front of you. We can do the content, and then also that comes with like a 30-minute phone call where we can go over Q&A and even farther down the rabbit hole, like I did in Thousand Oaks last month, where we're actually doing in-person live training in a mall.
Awesome.
And we spent the entire day
reading people just.
And you'd get a chunk of instruction.
That's so good, man. Yeah.
You get a chunk of instruction, and then you'd have to go find it for me. So I'd explain the concept. So, for example, I'd explain situational awareness. Hey, this is what it looks like when someone is exhibiting situational awareness. With your phone, discreetly, go find that.
Awesome.
So they got to walk around the mall and go,
The guy who's, because just like for me, one of the biggest kind of like target indicators are like pieces of information that causes me to cue on somebody. And I think you mentioned this in your course too, is like, who else is paying attention, man? Like, who else in the room is paying attention? Who else is in the hard points in the room? Who else has got his back to the wall?
Exactly.
And it's like, what other players are on the board in this room right now? Are we in a room full of silly villains? Or is there another wolf around here, another guy that's, paying attention? And the second you start to realize like who else is kind of paying attention, and then that like real recognize real thing happens. And it's like, are we enemies today? Or
what's happening here?
And then like I'll interview them, like I'm gonna do a podcast on like the art of hello. I think it's ultra important. I don't know exactly where it's come from because I haven't done the research yet, but I feel like there's some kind of like this thing inbred, and at least in men, where it's like, to do, and like you guys recognize each other, and then there's like you say hello, and it's like this thing is like we mean no harm to each other, it's like this disarming thing, And so, if I see someone or something, I'll almost always invariably look for that eye contact, give them some gesture of like peace or kind of goodwill, just to see what they're all about. The nod's so good.
It's a bit ubiquitous, and there's actually some science behind it. I can't remember where I read about it. I got so much crap in my head. Don't call me on any of this stuff.
Right? There's someone right there.
So, I'm a fact checker.
The trolls are out there.
But it was cool. It talked about what you're saying. So looking at a room, who's making eye contact, what type of eye contact. I remember one of the hacks was head nodding. You throw a head nod at somebody. It's a real easy way to disarm them, and a smile. As opposed to someone who I heard this, and they'll lock eyes with you. You'll make eye contact, and let's say, for example, you give them a head nod, and they don't give you the head nod back, and they maintain eye contact. You have a problem.
That's one strike one. Like, you're not going to get a position on me in that room now.
Again, I'm not saying go over and Goldberg the dude. But I'm just saying,
pay attention.
You give him the head nod, he doesn't give it back. They have eye contact, and they don't break it after the head nod. You got some indicators. That can be predatory.
The state of Mexico with regards to human trafficking. In an article published in the Latin Times, Mexico experienced a 245% increase in kidnappings between 2003 to 2013. To put hard numbers on that, in 2003, an average of 34 people were released from kidnappings each month. That was released. Okay. In 2009, that number was up to 96 per month. By 2013, that number was at 1,162 people released per month. That's boom.
Well, and an interesting thing about those numbers is a lot of stuff doesn't get reported.
Right, I'd imagine.
A lot of stuff doesn't get reported, and a lot of cases are just, left, as unknown, because Mexico, and this is something I've talked to a lot of people about this, Mexican criminal organizations have gotten body disposal down to a science. So if they want somebody to disappear off the face of the planet, Mexico's criminal organizations, they know how to do that, right? So it, like the numbers are, could be anything, right?
Wow.
And usually some of those numbers are also put out by the government, and so. But yeah, definitely abductions for ransom, and abductions amongst between rival criminal groups in Mexico are everyday thing down there, and I mean that amount of people disappearing,
Yeah.
definitely causes something in the culture, as far as a response.
Yeah, I could only imagine. We'll get into more specific questions about that as we go on, but geez, man, that's intense. So a little bit, I believe there was a documentary about a gentleman who trained you, Lieutenant Colonel Laizola. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly.
Yeah, Lieutenant Colonel Laizola. Yeah, that's his.
That's his name. Yeah, man. So how did he impact you?
Lieutenant Colonel Laizola he's one of those, once in a lifetime type figures that comes along and I think in some way, shape, or form, usually environments like the one we were living in back then, usually produces people that are needed, right?
Yeah.
So Lieutenant Colonel Laizola was he's a former military officer, all the right training, he was one of those lead from the front type guys, and we were going through some horrible stuff, specifically in my hometown of Tijuana, and by this time he got named director of the police in that part of the country. And I was fortunate enough to have known him from my time in the academy, where he was a director. Okay. And kind of went up the ranks. Yeah. And when he saw me out there, he asked, like, "Who here is unmarried?" Like a few hands would raise up in the room, right? And who here doesn't have any kids? And less and less hands would raise up.
Who's ready to die?
Well, I didn't think about it that way till I was in the car with him, right?
Exactly.
And one of the first, actually the first close protection jobs I've ever did was for him when he was named director, right? He said, I only have one rule, just stick with me, whatever happens, just stick with me, and just keep me safe. And I was like, okay. Obviously my training as far as guarding somebody of that nature in a war zone was not where it needed to be. So I had to do a lot of learning on the fly. Yeah. But got into a car with him, and basically we went out, and he would actually take part in most of the high level operations. He would just,
drive
walk. Yeah. He would walk behind the assault team. Like we would basically be part of most of the high level operations in the region. Wow. And he would just basically be there supervising everything directly. So that was pretty insane. That was a pretty insane life experience. But he, if you ask anybody from Tijuana, they will say, like, he was our Batman. He fixed things at a very deep level. He had after some time with him, I had to, he sent me off to do other things, and he's still alive. Yeah. Last count we did, he had 12 attempts on his life. One of them was very close, and they took the use of his legs. And he's currently very involved in politics. He says, well, if I can't beat him with bullets, I'll beat him with words. So I think he's making a run for the mayorship of Tijuana right now. Mm-hmm. I'm actually behind him politically. I'm helping him out politically right now. Outstanding. But yeah, he's still at it. He's still kicking.
Man, that's like a man's man. I love hearing stories about men like that are doing things like that are fearless like that. I think it's beautiful, and I think our world needs to know more about men like that. Like, they need more archetypes.
They're real, man. I've never met anybody like him before or since. Mm-hmm. conviction. He was one of those guys that would wake up and he always had a book with him. Or we'd be driving around and he would ask me random things about
random knowledge,
about anything.
Yeah.
He would give me guerrilla warfare manuals out of nowhere and said, like, read up on this. I'm going to quiz you tomorrow about it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So stuff like that, and he's a man of the people. He would talk to the guy on the street corner selling newspapers to the governor within the span of a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have he would always know what was going on because he had he's the one that said this phrase that every now and then I quote, keep friends in low places. Low places can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but keep friends in low places. And he's something, man.
That's awesome, man. And I bet he was probably a respectful dude, a respectful, loving guy too.
Yeah. Family first.
Yeah.
Very, very conservative in his personal life and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But when called upon, I would not want any. I wouldn't want that guy as an enemy, man.
Any part of any battle.
No, he would say people on the other side, bad guy side, would say that he was biblical in his. Right? He was biblical.
That's outstanding. I think that's it, man. Masculinity really, I don't think it's so much about toughness. I think it's more about being able to really have that character, like what you're describing, man. Just like knowing how to love, knowing how to bring the hate when it's time, knowing how to bring accountability when it's time, learning, I think that's good stuff, man. That's the character. That's good stuff, man. So you were protecting him for a while. What was it like protecting such a HVI, man?
Well, the first thing I kind of realized is that everybody assumed that I knew things that I didn't know, right? Mm. So first off, I have this VIP that doesn't want to sit in the back.
No.
Because culture in Mexico is what it is. So if you're not going to sit in the back, you're going to sit in the front. And I got tasked with making a convoy for this 3 to 4 car package to start. And I got an armored vehicle, and I had to basically educate myself on armored vehicles in the span of a week to know exactly what I was getting into.
Yeah.
What is a run flat? Does anybody here in the region know how to change a run flat tire?
Yeah.
Is my battery armored? Do I need to have the extra tire on the top of the car? Do I have to have it on the bottom of the car? Does this have an internal air, or if I throw some tear gas out the outside, will it filter in the inside?
Yeah.
All these things were things that I had to educate myself on. And slowly but surely, I had to, in a lot of ways, he pushed me into, I didn't want to let him down. Right.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Even if you don't know, you have to look like you do.
Yep.
Right. So, so I had to really kind of educate myself on some of that stuff.
What would you say you love about this industry the most? And then obviously, the inverse of the question as well.
Right, at least. What I love about the industry, and I guess probably hands down when I think about it, is that it's afforded me so many opportunities that I wouldn't normally have.
Yeah.
And I started off our conversation, man. I grew up in inner city Chicago,
like in the dark spot.
Right. Yeah, like I grew up in the projects, man. I have friends that have never left the neighborhood. I'm not even talking about the state.
Yeah,
I'm talking about left the neighborhood. So, but I say that to say that, I've always had aspirations. I've always, see things and go places. Like I said, I wanted to be an archaeologist. You know what I mean? Some shit. Like, wow, this is amazing over here. But those were like those were things where you're like, wow, that would be cool. Mm-hmm. But you don't think I'm going to be there. Mm-hmm. This job, this career has allowed me to be in those places. You know what I mean? Like all of those things. And again, it was never for me. And again, people have different motivators. Glitz and glamour was never it for me. Mm-mm. But an opportunity to see the world, like, yo, you know what I mean? Like
that's like one of the most amazing things in the world, man.
Amazing. Like, you know what I mean? That pushes buttons for me. You know, I've been to 6 or 7 continents. Mm-hmm. You know, I got to Antarctica and I got all 7 checked off.
Wow.
I'm going to go to Antarctica, but I guess I'm going to go just to go so I can at least say I've done that.
Right.
But, you know, like those are opportunities, man. And this business has done that. Mm-hmm. And you know, now I travel in my leisure time because I have the travel bug. But a lot of the travel I've done has been work related. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this business can afford you that opportunity. Now, again, you have to respect it and you have to understand that, hey, if you're there to work, you're there to work. You know what I mean?
Talk,
but, you know, once you understand the job and the duties and what it entails and all of the contingencies, there are opportunities for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
100%. You know, I kind of tell people, and I'm going on a little bit of tangent. You can
no, it's fine, man. Just flow. We flow.
You know, a lot of people in our business, they want to be the body man. They want to stand right next to the protectee, right?
Right.
Like, you know, listen, if you're the advanced guy, you get there ahead of us,
right?
Get the job done.
Yep.
Enjoy it.
Exactly,
like,
man.
You know what I mean?
Yep. All over the place. All over the place.
Yeah. Yep. These days I'm sitting back, you know, and I'm with the P, and my guys are like, "Oh yeah, we got this done, and now we're going to, you know, see a waterfall or something." You know what I mean? But I mean, like, you know, just think about that. So
yeah.
So this business has afforded me a lot of opportunities in that sense there, in terms of to see the world and interact with people and broaden up just you know, my thoughts, man. You know what I mean? Like,
perspective.
Yeah, perspective, exactly.
That traveling gives you so much perspective.
Sure, how you relate with other cultures and interact with other people, man. And I see things, particularly now in our current climate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are so divided, and you're like, we're either this or you're this.
Right.
And I'm like, yo, man.
There's so much other.
The world is big. Like,
right.
The things that you guys are thinking are like, it's only this or that. There are people that have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
And live their lives every day. So,
and are happier than you.
And are way happier than you. Like the world is in because, you know, you were red or blue or something like that.
Yeah.
See those colors. But anyway, so the job has given me that perspective, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about the other side here, right?
Yeah. I have to agree with you on that one though, man. Like straight up perspective shift, paradigm shift. Yeah. There are a few things I think in life, like seeing the world. Like there's just few things that can really do that much for you internally, you know? And once you really realize how big and small this thing is, it's like, man, it's a beautiful thing. I see the providence in it. I love it, you know? Right. And now for me, the game is just bringing my wife to all these different places that I've been to, you know?
Oh, you get to go back and circle back.
Yeah, man. Yeah. No, that's what's up. I would say that's a great perk, actually. I mean, yeah, that and seeing behind the veil. Something that really helped me with was a lot of the things that people aim for in life. I got to realize that they weren't all that they were cracked up to be. You know what I'm saying? Because you get to see behind that veil. You know, so you get to see behind the social media. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you get to get back in the car or the jet with, you know, people and be like, man, there's a lot of people working for this, but this ain't everything, you know?
Hey, brother, it's about as cliche as it can get.
Right.
But I can tell you firsthand, and you're with me here, I think, money doesn't buy happiness.
It really doesn't, man. I hate saying it to people because I know what they don't believe.
Yeah, right.
You know, they're like, yeah, well, it'll get me close. I'm like, maybe, bro. I don't know. I've been sitting, you know, I've been in situations where you're supposed to be happy, and little old me, like the poorest dude in the room was the happiest dude in the room. You know, it's true.
And you know, and I think that's the thing that doesn't translate well.
Yeah,
you've seen it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. I've seen it, and I can attest to it. You know, I've been with ultra high net worth people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're depressed, so they feel like they need something else, or this or that. So that's one thing about this business, man. It does. It gives us perspective.
Perspective. Boom. That's like the principle coming out of there. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like that's the cookie burger we just found. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Perspective, man. I dig that. That's what's up. And then on the inverse side of it, man, what do you got?
And the worst thing about the business, I think one of the toughest things about the business is that we make it hard on ourselves, mostly by infighting. And what I mean by that is that, obviously, to be in the protection industry, you usually are geared towards having an alpha personality.
Uh-huh.
Your pack leaders for the most part.
Yeah,
and so what happens is that in our profession, which is weird when I compare it to other professions, is like Highlander. Like there can only be. It's like,
it's so good. It's so good.
Head, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And
there can only be one. Oh man.
But it's not like that. It's you know what I mean? The number of high net worth individuals, the number of people that need protective services. So, but we make it seem like, there's only one client.
Right.
I'm not working them. You know what I mean? This guy here is trash, and I got to trash talk him, and I got to do it. And you don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's the thing, like, particularly with social media, too. You know what I mean? I don't want to get on a soapbox, but particularly with social media, it gives people an outlet to voice their opinions, which is fine. But I never see, like, lawyers trash talking each other.
Right.
I never see doctors. I never see taxi drivers. Like all these other industries, man, when something goes wrong, they close ranks.
Yeah,
Law enforcement, military, they close ranks and they're like, all right, cool. We're going to protect our own, But in ours, man, the minute TMZ reports something happened, man,
everyone got daggers out.
He's trash. He should be fired immediately. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, the only thing you know about this is the story
that you just read.
Right. From a news agency that's whole job is to get views and clicks. Like, you don't know the story, so why are you so quick to kind of, throw the baby out? You know what I mean? And so I think that's the part there. And the reason why, and I was hesitant to say that's the worst part, but the reason why I think it's bad is because for the next generation, that's what they see.
Yeah.
And as soon as they start experiencing that, what they do is they get turned off on the industry. And they adopt those patterns, and that's what develops that cutthroat mentality. And I think ultimately that messes things up as a whole. You know what I mean? Because if you think about there's that soapbox thing. But our thing started off, man, as like an honorable profession. You know what I mean? We trace this stuff back to like the samurai. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? And the Praetorian Guard. Like these are honorable professions that we do, man. And then when we start being mercenaries to the sense of like, hey, listen, it's just about me. I don't care about anybody else. That's the only way I can win. I think that damages our profession.
With this podcast, and it sounds like also with the stuff you're doing, that's awesome. I want to like stir that up in our society with all the things that are happening, man,
Right. Yeah. The way I tell people that I want to make people better people, and I'd rather have assets than liabilities.
Heck yeah.
Nowadays, we are so connected that we are disconnected. So, you take Cooper's color code from, white to zombie mode and black to fighting for your life. So many people, whether they're walking around the street or driving their car, they're completely in the white now. They're on their phones. I look at people and I go, how in the hell can you expect you, father of three who just walked into the restaurant while you're on your cell phone and you're wearing freaking flip-flops and shorts?
Right.
What if something goes south, man? What if the shit hits the fan? How are you going to be able to protect them? You can't run through broken glass with those flip-flops on, and you have no sense of awareness. So we've kind of, it's a fact that we human beings, we're devolving over time.
Yeah.
But we don't have to escalate things, and the technology that we're using is forcing us to escalate our how we are devolving as a species, as a race, as humans.
Like the
that's one of the things I'm trying to get people to be more situationally aware. You don't have to be in the freaking orange. You could enjoy life. You know what I mean? You don't have to be paranoid. You're not really on executive protection detail. I mean, those guys are in the orange all the time.
Yeah, we're kicking it in there.
Exhausting. You can't do that. But you know, once you leave your fortress, you should be in the yellow. You know, just have fun, but just a sense of awareness of what's around you and who's around you and who may be an asset and who may be a liability, that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Sense of awareness, situational awareness, have a plan. I mean, I feel better once I sit down at a restaurant with my wife and I kind of can see stuff and I have a plan. I kind of know who's who in the zoo a little bit. Like for me, that's like I can relax more responsibly almost, I feel, you know, and, you know, like those little things that you're talking about that are organic for us I love that, man, because I love that you did that with those videos because it's just the little things. It's a little bit of perspective. It's seeing things a little differently. It's maybe making a few different decisions with regards to what you put on this morning.
Exactly.
With
little stuff,
mindset, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. And that we got some live events coming up this year where, you know, I kind of hit a crossroads where it's like, should I do this like for the executive protection practitioner, or should I put something together with a number of different survival skills and speakers designed to help civilians become better protectors? And that's what I'm aiming at, man. I really want to help civilians become better protectors because that's the antibody. We had the bombs just went off in Sri Lanka, coordinated attack. You know, as a protector, what can you do to stop it? And, you know, I think the only real way to thwart something like that is a community of people that know to look for it. And that maybe can see something like that. Well, a neighbor's been acting weird, you know, carrying sketchy stuff in and out of his house, or they've been having weird meetings. And people with that mindset that you're talking about, you know, I don't know. But yeah.
Well, and you know, and now with today's society too, we're afraid to thwart or to dissuade a possible bad scenario because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah, man. The PC.
But there's ways around it. You know, if you see a guy, for instance, in the neighborhood, because this happened not too long ago, where a buddy of mine got robbed.
Oh, man.
And it was primarily kids, but you know, they were smashing a door, going in and just looking for whatever's available to them. But those kids were seen in the neighborhood, and people driving didn't recognize them. And they didn't say anything to them. You want to hurt their feelings. But there's ways, you know, you could roll down the window and say, hey, do you know where Poplar Street is? And if they go, no, well, you're on freaking Poplar Street. So,
right.
It can be very benign. You could, you know, it could be extremely benign without hurting somebody's feelings because you never know. They might be just happenstance. They might be looking for work or a friend of theirs or what have you. But the thing is, if you can't go against intuition. It's a gift we're born with. And we're too afraid nowadays to allow our intuition, our intuitiveness to work on our behalf.
Yeah.
We're scared to death, man. We're going to hurt somebody's feelings.
You know, then be the bad guy, you know, be the bad guy of the day.
Yeah.
No, that's good gouge, man. And yeah, interviewing folks, man. Hey, how you doing today? What's going on? What you up to? You know, and if I get accused of it, I'm just genuine. I'm just like, hey, you know, to be honest,
right.
I didn't know. I've never seen your car, and I just didn't know. So I just introduce myself and see how you're doing today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and see how they react. You know.
Well, and because then too, you know, if they are a predator, just like in the wild, does not want to be caught. They need easy prey. So now, if they are a predator, they had bad intentions, they're gone.
They're sketched out.
They're busted just like that, you know. So I don't know.
That's exactly right. It's good gouge, man. So moving into, you know, the question we always have to ask, you know, and on any security detail you get there, everyone kind of sniffs each other's butts, right? And then they go into hey man, well, what's your background? So I like to let guys, you know, just tell their own backgrounds on here, just like as if we were on a detail.
Yep. Oh, you want me to tell mine?
Yeah, man. The way you would say it.
All right. So tactical experience comes from, I spent 22 years in the Army, and it was all special operations time. My entire career was special ops time. So I'm what they refer to as an SF baby. So I signed up for the Special Forces program at 17 years old and started the Special Forces course after, all the basic stuff on my 19th birthday. And then I was in a whole bunch of different special ops jobs, regular, Green Beret unit to some Cold War jobs where I was setting up networks for double agents in Berlin. And then I was spying on the Soviet Army in Soviet East Germany. And once the wall came down in reunification, I went to a selection for the unit in 91. And I spent 13 years there in USASOC and top tier unit on the planet. And then I retired in 05. And then, and during that 13 years too, I was very fortunate. Well, I say fortunate. I did a lot of executive protection while in the military. It's not fortunate because that job sucks. But it got me,
I was going to ask you what you thought.
But it got me into places where, I, as a military guy, did not have autonomy, parts of the world. And I protected some interesting people, from ambassadors to generals to, I got some good ones. Madeleine Albright. The King of Jordan. Hillary Clinton.
Priceless.
Well, I was with her. Remember when she was under sniper fire in Boston?
Yeah. It was a hot LZ. Oh,
yeah. That was me. That was me with her. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Probably one of the safest places on the planet at the time. Tuzla Air Base, Eagle Air Base, Tuzla. It was probably one of the safest places you could be on the planet. But so
that's awesome.
Done a bunch of it.
Yeah, man.
And the deep level of masculinity, that's really what I think that's what we're aiming at, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's something that is maybe lost in some ways today, only because it's not really mainstream to be that guy. It's I think people nowadays are more looking for how can they get what they want, not how can they be counted on or trusted or give back or the ethos of the warrior is self-sacrifice is part of it. So that's not really in vogue today. So, it's definitely, if you base your life on honor, that thing that no one can take from you. No one can take your honor. You can only give it away. And that makes it a very valuable thing that, someone can take your possessions, right? They can take all your stuff. They can take your life, but they can't take your honor. You have to give it away. And that makes it a very valuable thing. And yet people give it away every day without really a thought. And that's the world we're living in right now. Honor is not a currency like it used to be. So if you're living your life as a warrior, it is a currency for you. And obviously, tribe. Who is your tribe, and the definition of who your tribe is will give you an idea of who holds that honor. The requirement for it. So who do you protect, or who do you owe your allegiance to? Who do you love, basically? And that's where the warrior has to be focused. A lot of people look at warriors and say they're focused on violence or are focused on the death and destruction side of things. But really, warriors are focused on who they love, because everything they do is for that. So it's just another expression of love, basically. But obviously, entails violence or
the struggle, that we can provide because of certain skills, but it's still our honor that we're playing with, that we're doing everything for. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's good to go, and that's all so true. And yeah, in our society now where nothing's sacred, it's kind of tough. It's tough having that kind of trying to roll by that old currency. It's a dying breed type of thing. But man, it almost makes it a little more honorable, and especially when you see another man that still has those values, or person, woman or whoever that has those values. It's like, I really hope we can get it to come back because the world's a better place, man.
Well, it's a natural thing that it will come back. There are a few stages that societies go through. And in the very beginning, every single society starts off as a might-based society. So basically, whoever's the strongest makes the rules, and pure strength is what determines who sits closest to the fire and who gets the food and who gets the good, shelter and all the things that go with the very basics of life. But at a certain point, a might-based society naturally evolved into an honor-based society. So, when you have everyone fighting all the time for every scrap, people at some point say, hey, we don't have to do this anymore. Why don't we find a way to work together? And it's still based on your might to some degree, but you're not going to fight over everything. You're going to basically say, give me your word that you will do this, and I'll give you my word that I will do this. And therefore, the currency in that society is not who's the strongest, but it's the word. It's your honor, So we can live next to each other, and we don't have to fight, but we can share resources, and we can. But it's all going to be based on honor. Because a might-based society will not live very long because they will constantly kill each other off enough that they'll never get strong. They'll just keep fighting, killing off the strongest men, and then would not progress. So then honor becomes the thing, right? So that we don't have to kill off all of our warriors, we can make treaties and understand, right? So that's a natural thing. Now, after honor, though, honor-based society naturally goes into what they call a dignity-based society. So
polite society.
You go from, hey, everyone who had a certain upbringing, a certain background, has honor based in their family name and all that stuff, and you start to build up honor as a currency in society. Well, what happens then is everyone wants to get in on that. Everyone wants to be part of it. So then they start saying stuff like, well, everyone's got the natural, like kind of a natural value, and everyone's got dignity, and then everyone jumps on board, right? So it's not really based on honor anymore. It's based on just being a person, just being a human being. And therefore nothing special necessarily about how you live your life. It's the fact that you're alive and you're a person. After that comes a victim-based society. So,
oh man,
how do I gain? I'm alive like everyone else, so I get the certain amount of dignity and respect as a person. But how do I get extra respect? How do I get even more currency in this society? Well, they look at people who are weaker, and they say, let's give these people a helping hand, right? And then everyone tries to find out how they can be weaker so that they can get a little extra benefit from that society. So I'm alive like everyone else, but I need even more currency in this society. So then that comes into a victim-based society, and everyone looks for how do they get victim status. And after that, society will become weakened because of that. So what happens is they start to no longer value strength, no longer value honor. It doesn't matter anymore. Everyone's got the same. And some people have a little bit more if they're weak. So then it becomes a value to be weak. And then what happens is your capacity to survive eventually becomes weak, and everything breaks down. And when everything breaks down, what happens is the strongest rise to the top, and it becomes a might-based society again. And then, and you see that in different parts of the world where warlords run the show, and there is no law, and there is no, so we'll go back to it, but it's going to be a messy, bloody time, and it's not a good thing. It's just the way the cycle works, We're in the middle of it now. We're in the middle of the beginning of the victim-based stuff now. So.
Man, that's good. Yeah, no, we shall see how it works. That's a good little lesson.
Boom! Quick shout out to our sponsor, Staccato. My first pistol sponsor. I've been sponsored by a lot of companies, right, over the years. But when it comes to pistol, that's my bread and butter. Pistol is something I believe in. I'm a competitive shooter. We're shooting anywhere from, 800 rounds a month type of thing, right? So Staccato, being what I believe, is one of, if not the most complete handguns you can put in your hand. It's got every component that a handgun could have, should have. They're actually extremely dependable now that they've made some changes, and these things are straight up tack drivers. If you're looking for a pistol that will do as much of the work for you as a piece of hardware can, obviously you have to have the marksmanship and all the different things, but different guns perform at different levels. And I want to say that Staccato is one of, by far, for sure, take it from a competitive shooter, we're shooting the highest volumes of rounds constantly right now. Not used to have a background guy, but like right now, when you go shoot, you're going to see certain brands. Staccato is one of, if not the highest performing firearm that is both CCW, duty ready, and also competitive ready. So I want to give them a shout out. If you guys are looking for a good handgun to build your skills on top of, go check out Staccato. Much love and respect. Boom. When it comes to the technology you use to protect your home, there's nothing better than Deep Sentinel. AI-driven, human-monitored technology that will keep you and your family safe for the same price you're paying for whatever Ring doorbell system you have. Check out Deep Sentinel. It's such an honor to join forces with these guys. They should be in every single house in the world. Get real-time Overwatch for you and your loved one. And for 10% off, depending on when you're watching this, don't forget to use code Byron at checkout. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can, because it makes all of these things possible. Thanks for those contributions.